Black Letter Media.
This program contains strong language. You can find more shows and podcasts.
Each week, we get together and try to tackle the brown people problems that we all face on a daily, whether it's on your timeline, in your group chat, or the talking point at your dinner table.
In this week's episode, we talk about the things that we used to hate, and Arun has been in touch with his dilemma. So don't go anywhere, because once we spill the chai, it can get pretty messy.
How are you? How's your week been? Tell me what's been going on.
Oh, man. So this week, I had a dawat. Do you know what one of those are?
No, what's that?
So
I like the pronunciation.
Dawat, yes.
Dawat.
So literally, when you get married, all the kind of people that attend your wedding, some of the people that are close, they will invite you to a dawat, which is when they invite like the bride and groom to their house for a formal like dinner.
Oh, okay, yes, we do. We call it just a roti.
A roti? But a roti is a roti, fam.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they'll invite you for roti to formally come as a new couple to the house, have like a meal at their house as for the first time.
Yeah. So
carry on.
I had like literally 2 of those this week. One of my really close friends and Nadia's uncle.
So they came to yours?
No. Okay. They invited us to their houses formally. Right. And I'm like, fam, we've been married like 2 years now. We're not no new bride and groom.
You're like, where was our dawah?
Yeah, I was like, this is some overdue dawah, fam, but it was lovely. But you know, when you're in a dawah and you see like the food and everything like that, the way you're getting treated, like you just feel like king of the castle. See,
that's nice, but we do the opposite way.
Okay.
So the family would invite you, so say me and Satnam, they would invite us to their house for a roti, and they would put on food. So we wouldn't tell them to come to ours.
Yeah, that's what I mean though.
No, you just said. But they've just got married.
Oh no, maybe I should have explained it a bit better.
Oh well, at least you went round, had
better
some
late
food.
than never, yeah.
At least you didn't have to cook.
That's it, man. But you know, like when you go to the roti or like the dawat, do you take like stuff for
like
them?
A gift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you take like gifts for the family, or do you just take like mithai?
Box of chocolates in it.
Is it? So
Mountains eat your heart out.
So we had to take like, you know, gifts for everyone, and then I'm like
what? Like for each individual person in the house?
Yeah, like clothes.
You joking?
Nah, legit, man. And
that's why you're getting invited, because they're like, oh, we need some new garments.
Winter is coming. And then we're like trying to guess like whose sizes are what, and when you message them for their sizes, they're like, no, you don't have to get me anything, but it's tradition. Do you know what I mean? And then I was thinking like, do any other like communities do this to the extent that us as South Asians do? Because I feel like we go overboard when it comes to hospitality.
Personally, I don't think we do that.
Oh.
For like rotis. Like we'll go around and take like chocolate, flowers. That's what we would do. I can't speak for every other person, but that's what I would do. But if I had to start buying clothes and stuff for everyone, I'd be like, sorry, I can't make you roti. I'm just not hungry that day. I'd be like, forget this.
Legit. I mean, it was lovely, but then I was like, wow, like we really do take it to a different level.
Why have they got 12 people in the house?
Do you know? Man's coming out there with a full belly and a empty wallet.
Basically, you're cheaper off going to a restaurant.
Legit. How about you? What have you been up to?
I'm good. I went to see Kurnoge.
Oh my days,
Gangster.
Come on.
I'm not gonna lie. Me and my brother was like, yeah, this is.
How can you not know the words to gangster, man? I feel like I know the words to pretty much all the Kurnoge songs. Winning speech. Softly, like they're all stuck in my head, man.
It just makes me laugh because it's like I know the songs, but I don't know how to sing them. So I'm like, chilla,
Music, radio, podcasts. Hello and welcome to Murder They Wrote. How are you, Ian Sterling?
Oh, I like that opening. This is welcome.
I just thought I'd start a little bit lower because sometimes we start very high energy.
Not today. How about you stop what you're doing, listeners, and run yourself a bath. Maybe put some bubbles in there. Get your favourite book, then put the book away because you're listening to this podcast. Submerge yourself in the bubbles and let our voices heal your skin conditions and mood as we lap you gently with some facts about crimes.
Can we just do the podcast?
Yeah.
It's my turn this week.
Good afternoon, everyone. Whatever, or morning, whatever it is, the usual stuff.
It's my turn this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie to you.
What?
Today's case makes me angry.
Why?
I know, I'm starting low because I might get angrier as the podcast goes on.
Why does it make you angry?
Because it's a story ripe with misogyny, as is society.
Misogyny, we miss it. It's been gone for a few years now.
Well, you're going to enjoy this podcast because it's going to rile me right up.
Where does this story take place that there's so much misogyny?
It was actually just a few years before women received electoral equality in Britain, which feels like an important backdrop for this story. Do you know what year that was? Or ballpark.
I should know this, really, shouldn't I? You're talking about... It's...
You'll get the right century.
Post-World... It's 20th century. I'm going to go between World War I and World War II. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go 1928. 29? 30. 31.
Why are you so specific? Okay, you said 1928.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in 1918, the Representation of the People's Act gave some women the vote.
Yeah, we were talking about equality.
Yeah, but they had to be over the age of 30, and they had to be, quote, either a householder, the wife of a householder, an occupier of property with an annual rent of £5, or a graduate of a British university. So it was actually 10 years later that the Act was amended to include all women, and that year was 1928.
I didn't even cheat. It was a guess, but it was an educated one.
I love an educated guess. They're my favourite kinds of guesses.
Oh my God. Very happy with that. Email in Laura and Ian at bbc.co.uk. Just say, well done, Ian.
I was like, what are they emailing in? Start. This story actually does take place somewhere between the two acts being passed, so the early 1920s. It was sent in by a listener.
Nice
one of
one.
our living legends. We love our recommendations. So when you're emailing in to say, well done, Ian, also gives a recommendation of something that we could research. This came in a few weeks back, actually, from Sarah. Good morning and happy Wednesday. And today, when we're recording this podcast, is not Wednesday, is it?
It's Thursday today.
Thursday today. But you're listening to this on a Monday. How confusing. Loving the podcast. My husband and I are avid fans.
A male fan.
Ian makes a great first husband.
Laura makes a good only wife.
While procrastinating at work, I stumbled across this page, and it makes for a great episode. Can't wait to hear more. We agree it does make a great episode, so we're going to do it. Now, before we begin, we do cover some disturbing and gruesome details in this episode, including a stabbing, instances of capital punishment, and a brief mentions of domestic abuse against women. So please take care while listening. If this is an issue that impacts you or someone you know, there's a link in the show notes where you can find resources to help. Okay, let's get cracking. It's late. The clock has just struck midnight. It's the very first hour of October 4th, 1922. Edith Thompson and her husband Percy are walking home after a night at the theatre. They've been to see The Dippers. It's a new comedy play showing at the Criterion Theatre in Piccadilly Circus.
What? No way! Criterion is where Laura done her West End run.
Do you know what, though? That theatre does creep me out because it's so old, and you think of all the things that have happened there. Like, when was this? 1922, and there's been shows there. Quite cool. So now they're back in Ilford where they live. Ilford's a town in Redbridge, a borough in London's East End. They're walking back to their house in Kensington Gardens, which is about a 20-minute walk from the station. Edith is dressed in her best for the theatre, because it's a big thing to go to theatre. She's actually always pretty glam, to be fair to her. Tonight she's wearing a slate grey frock with a brown fur coat over the top and a brown velvet hat to match. She's finished off the look with a red cloth handbag and some brown suede shoes.
She sounds very chic.
She is very stylish. Percy is wearing a smart blue suit, black shoes, a linen shirt and cufflinks.
Sounds dapper.
The streets are dark, with the exception of the patches of the pavement illuminated by the amber street lights, sparingly spaced along the road. Edith and Percy are talking about their night at the theatre and discussing their thoughts on the play. After about 15 minutes, they reach the crossroads where Belgrave Road reaches Ensley Gardens, the street that runs parallel to theirs. They're close to home, And on this chilly evening, they can almost hear the sound of water boiling in the kettle, ready for them to prepare their hot water bottles and snuggle up into bed. But one of them is never going to make it through their front door again. Because as they go to cross the road, a man jumps out from behind them. First, he grabs Edith and pushes her aggressively to the side. She falls to the floor, hitting her head on the pavement. She's momentarily dazed. Then, with his other hand, the assailant, grabs Percy. Percy is taken aback, but he starts to fight. Pushed up against the wall, the two men are tussling, hitting one another, throwing punches. But Percy is at a clear disadvantage, especially when his attacker pulls out a knife. The ensuing fight is short but bloody. The two men throw each other around. They roll, crawl, and scrape their way along the road, leaving a trail of blood in their wake. But Percy is no match for this man and his weapon. Before long, he is slumped against the wall of a house, his suit soaked with blood. After a brief while, Edith recovers her senses, and when she realizes what's happening, she screams, "Oh, don't!" But as she runs over to Percy, she knows it's too late. Before she runs to call for a doctor, she looks up at Percy's attacker, fleeing the scene. She sees a familiar grey trilby hat and a blue overcoat. And her worst fears are confirmed. She knows these clothes and the man who owns them very well. You see, at this moment, she realizes exactly who has attacked them. And as her husband dies lying in her arms, she reflects on her relationship with her husband, Percy, and the man who is now sprinting away from them. She knows how this is going to look from the outside, and she's worried.
What do you mean how it'll look from the outside?
Well, Ian, you'll see what I mean very soon, but first of all, I need to introduce you properly to Edith and Percy Thompson. So Edith Thompson, formerly Edith Greystone, is born on Christmas Day, 1893. She grows up in Manor Park, which is also in East London. She's the oldest of 5 children. She has one sister, Avis, who is 2 years younger than her, and 3 brothers. Like most oldest girls, especially at this time, Edith spends her teenage years helping her mum to care for her siblings.
Big families do that, don't they?
Yeah.
You're Irish, you've got loads of big families.
Yeah, well, my mum was the youngest, so...
Of?
13.
Wow.
So you can imagine, like, the older sisters in particular, they'd be looking after the younger ones. Anyway, Edith is an intelligent and ambitious young woman. She longs for a life different to the one that working class women are expected to live at this time. So when she finishes school, she looks for work. And actually by 1911, when she's about 18, she finds respectable work as a buyer at a wholesale milliner's, Carlton and Pryor. You know what a milliner is, don't you?
I'm having an absolute blinder today. They make hats.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The hat trade is pretty cool. It's very chic, and Edith actually loves her work. And her colleagues and bosses are very impressed by her. She far exceeds their expectations of a woman from London's East End, which were pretty low at that time. In particular, they appreciate the way she's able to disguise her Cockney accent to impress the firm's posh middle-class clients. A little bit like My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
Eliza Doolittle having to change her accent.
Also, that's not like a...
It's not an old thing.
It's not an old thing. It's still, I mean...
Still goes on. I like now on the radio there's more accents, but back in the day, everyone just had the same generic accent.
So you've got the welcome to radio. We used to all talk like this on the radio.
I had to be careful of my accent though, because when I started MTV, no one understood. Like I remember we were doing a news piece on R. Kelly. Which, I like R. Kelly, it wasn't a great news piece on him, not a very nice man. But I was like, R. Kelly, and they're like, what are you saying?
R. Kelly. See, I'd go R. Kelly, like he was a pirate or something.
And then I was like, a statement from his PR.
Oh, yeah, well...
PR. So yeah, there's a few things I had to kind of change just so people could understand what I'm saying. Well, get this, Edith even takes elocution lessons to make sure her voice is spot on. So she's really going the extra mile here. Around this time, actually, Edith meets Percy Thompson. He's a smart-looking, earnest young man. About 3 years, Edith's a senior. He and Edith meet on the train on their way back to work. I love that. You must meet so many people kind of commuting. She's on her way to the milliner's, and he's on his way to his job, which is a shipping clerk. Edith is delighted by the attention paid to her by Percy, and they soon learn that they have many shared interests. The theatre, the music hall, and concerts. They're all quite similar things. They soon embark on an active courtship, with Percy regularly visiting Edith and her parents at home, as well as taking her out with a chaperone. It's a very different time
Oh, yeah.
to the theatre.
Is that because it's pre-marriage?
Yeah, and she's probably quite young. There are some clear discrepancies between the two of them. Percy is morose and reserved, whereas Edith is sociable and charming. She loves nothing more than dancing, but Percy finds physical exertion tiring. In many ways, they actually seem like the inverse to each other, except for their love of theatre, but they're very, very different people.
Most opposites attract, isn't it?
But after several years of courting, Edith decides to look past her and Percy's differences in character. And on Christmas Day, 1915, the couple become engaged.
So he done the old birthday engagement ring trick, save a few quid. But that means
one present.
She's got.
Remember her birthday.
It's on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So she's got Christmas, birthday, and engagement all on the same day.
He just gets one present for everything. Does seem a little bit cheap, doesn't it? They get married on the 15th of January, about 3 weeks after their engagement.
They've planned that quick.
Well, then doesn't need a chaperone anymore, does she?
Really, and you can get a little bit of bumpy. Now we're married. Do you want to do a bit of if you know what I mean?
Ironically, this is actually what Ian said during his proposal to me.
That was my wedding speech.
Once they're married, the couple need a place to live, ready to settle down, so they buy a home on 41 Kensington Gardens. By the time Edith has been promoted to head buyer at Carlton and Pryor and is becoming increasingly indispensable to the company, she's doing well for herself. She's actually at this time, believe it or not, earning significantly more than Percy. So she contributes over 50% towards the cost of their new home. And like back then, that didn't happen.
Higher earning partners, very sexy things. All my fellow higher earning partner men in the Hazel. Email in, Lauren Ian, BBC.co.uk.
She's a boss bitch, basically. Now, do remember this is 1900, so this is a rarity. And although Edith is making bank, as a woman, she doesn't actually have the same rights as Percy. How annoying is that? So even though she is covering the cost of over 50% of the house, the deed has to be in his name.
Yep.
And sadly, the marriage actually doesn't alleviate Edith's doubt about Percy. In fact, she's growing increasingly frustrated by Percy's unadventurous nature. He's not hugely ambitious. She's making more money than him. But he's also he won't even dance on a night out. You know? There's no crack. And that's fine if you're into that, but she's someone who's quite sociable and likes going out. And also all her initial curiosities about sex have been gratified. So, she's popped that cherry, and now she's finding their sex life to be actually a little bit disappointing. It feels monotonous, unexciting. She can't really imagine only having sex with Percy for the rest of her married life. Then, in June 1921, Edith and Percy take a holiday with Edith's sister, Avis, who is 2 years younger than Edith. Now, they're also joined by an old childhood friend of Edith and Avis's family, a man named Freddie Bywaters. At nearly 19 years old, Freddie is considerably younger than the rest of the party. He's actually about a decade younger than Edith, in fact. He is, though, charismatic, a charming young man, very handsome too. A little bit of the Harry Styles about him, do you know what I mean?
This is sounding very ominous to the relationship.
He's muscular, broad-shouldered,
all
tanned, thick crop of light brown wavy hair and a square jaw. Just think Harry Styles.
This is not good.
Plus, what Freddie lacks in years, he makes up for in worldly experience, because although he's only 19, he's been a member of the Merchant Navy since he was just 15. So he's seen probably more of the world than Percy.
Yeah.
Despite their difference in age, Percy and Freddie they actually hit it off almost instantly when they meet, because he is a shipping clerk, and Percy finds that he and Freddie have actually a lot to talk about within that world. But the real reason Freddie has been invited on this holiday isn't his friendship with Percy. It's because there's been something of a romantic vibe between Freddie and Avis, who is the sister. They've been going out for lunches and so on for a little while. And remember, it's the younger sister, so they're closer in age. So this is the context in which the four take a holiday to Shanklin, a seaside town on the Isle of Wight. It's kind of a double-day holiday.
This has got, do you know what this feels like a bit? The two couples in...
The White Lotus?
The White Lotus, when the two couples go in and one of the husbands thinks that she's been
having an affair.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this couple's holiday, probably similar to the White Lotus one, doesn't go as planned because it isn't long.
There are warnings of gales in Thames, Dover, White, Plymouth, Biscay, Fitzroy, Seoul, Lundy, Fastnet, Irish Sea, Shannon.
This program contains strong language. You can find more shows and podcasts